Hey, welcome back to the Full Weight of Joy podcast. My name is Tami, and I am so privileged to have a friend, a fellow neuro coach, and soon to be my health coach on the podcast today. Alicia, I'm just so thankful that you're here. Thank you for coming and joining me to talk and share with my ladies on, well, what it means to be healthy and just your perspective. So if you want to start off, like, tell me a little bit about what you do.
Hey Tammy. Well, first, thank you for having me. It is so fun to kind of just see like how our relationship has evolved from you being my coach and all of that. So I'm so thankful to be here to share. Yes, I am Alisha Carlson. I live in Oregon. I've got two dogs, two kids, a husband that is in the National Guard. So we kind of straddle that interesting space of not being like a full-fledged military family, but also not like fully civilian either. I do what I would say is really like a non-diet based lifestyle coaching. And the non-diet aspect of that really is centered around the mindset and the heart and the way that we approach food and exercise. It's not necessarily saying like, no, you can't change your body or no, you can't have that desire, because I think as a coach, it's my job to help kind of facilitate the transformation that people want while helping them understand why they want it and creating a bridge for them to get there in a way that is sustainable and doable. Which, as we'll get into a little bit, if you've ever attempted a diet, we know that that's not sustainable. Typically, the life cycle for that is about 3 weeks, and we can dive into that a little bit more. But so I do, yeah, that holistic coaching. It's the mindset work, which is where the neuro coaching piece comes in. It's the fitness, it's the nutrition, but we also have to address the other things that come into play, especially when we're moms, when we are kind of responsible for running the house. We're essentially the CEO of our family and of our household. And so there's a lot of different pieces that I think initially when I got into fitness and nutrition coaching, I was not really taking into account. And when I stepped back and started to incorporate more of that life coaching into it, is really where I started to see long-term success in my clients' health goals, but also started to see them shifting out of that mentality of being really hard on themselves, beating themselves up, to taking a more, compassionate, sort of grace-based approach for themselves, which in turn creates more sustainability in the long term.
That's so good. And yeah, like I get it. I've been blessed like growing up, and I never fought my weight. I was always very active. I've had a really good diet, and then in the last couple of years I've started to feel that shift. One is stress. Like I do know, like I have teenagers, which is a completely different experience than having toddlers, even though they act a lot alike. And then being in a new relationship, and then of course in the business and the ups and downs and all the things. And so I've seen my weight change, even though my diet hasn't really changed that much. And it's frustrating. And then I got focused on my weight, and then that caused more stress because I was just cycling and trying to, like, I would do a 30-day challenge, which, like you said, 3 weeks. Well, I could do, I'm like, if I have an end date, I can do anything. But then it would quickly go back, and my weight would just come back on as I shifted back into what I was always doing. And so I love this concept, and this is one reason why I've been following you and listening to some of the things you said, because your focus on healthy habits and a healthy lifestyle. And I love the fact that it's not really, I mean, we all want to feel good in our bodies, but that doesn't necessarily mean a specific weight. And so just tell us a little bit more about what you mean by like healthy habits and healthy lifestyle.
Yeah, so I want to take us back to, I think it was late 2017, maybe 2018. You would think like I would have had that date marked on my calendar, but at this point, I had been on my own fitness and health journey since 2007. Prior to that, I was always the girl that would try diets and try workout programs for a few days and not see results and be like, well, this isn't working. And then I would quit and I would give up. But in 2007, I was getting married. And like most women, I wanted to look good, I wanted to feel good. And so that January, I embarked on um, a diet essentially to lose weight. And I was very successful. I lost weight and I was really able to maintain that weight loss for about 10 years.
Wow.
I did fitness competitions. So I did some figure shows. I ran 5Ks, 10Ks, a half marathon. And so I'm super thankful for what fitness gave me outside of like some of the darker things that ended up happening, which
Mm,
we'll kind of dive into. But it really was the first place that I started to feel like I had any sort of autonomy or control in my life. It was the first time that I really did start to feel strong in my body and again in my life. And so there are so many powerful lessons that fitness can translate into other areas of our lives. But for me, it really did kind of go into that place of not really being healthy anymore. So I developed undiagnosed, but orthorexia. So just an unhealthy obsession with eating healthy and being healthy.
mm,
Um, and the food and the exercise and what my body looked like and the number on the scale really became a primary focal point for me. Um, Unfortunately, there were a lot of like positive compliments thrown my way with the weight loss. And so that just kind of reinforced that I need to keep this up. I need to maintain this. And I could for a while. But it was probably 2016, 2017 was where I noticed that for the first time in a long time, it felt like I was kind of yo yoing again. So
mm,
gaining weight, losing it, gaining weight, losing it. And, late 2017, early 2018, I'm standing in my kitchen. I've got the camera on the counter. I'm getting ready to take like before pics again because, you've got to take progress pictures. And I'm not opposed to that. I think that especially if you do have a weight loss goal or what I would hope is more like a fat loss goal, because we can kind of talk about some of the differences there. But if you had some sort of a physique related goal, then yes, like you are going to want to take metrics or, have some way to measure your progress. It doesn't always have to be the scale. There are definitely different ways, but I'm standing there in the kitchen. At this point, I have my degree in exercise science. I'm a certified nutrition coach, certified fitness coach, and I have all just the personal experience, but yet I'm feeling so defeated, so discouraged, and really just feeling like a failure. Like, why am I standing here again? Why can't I just keep the weight off? And with me and my faith, like, I do believe it was the Holy Spirit that was like, it's because you've been dieting this whole time and calling it a lifestyle. And that for me really stopped me in my tracks. And it was like, well, wait a minute, like, what does that even mean? And that really was the catalyst that kind of had me step back from the way that I was approaching fitness and nutrition, but also the way that I was coaching it. And that was where I think for me, I discovered that it's not necessarily about the actions and what we're doing, but it really is more about the heart set, the mindset, and the intention that we are approaching
mm.
it from.
It's so good. This relates to so many ways, so many things that I'm with my clients and my friends and myself. It just, you're right, that mindset and the intention. Because as I was, you know, that size two that I used to be, and now I don't even have the intention. Like, I know that that's not what I want because of what it would take to get there. I know that it would be a lifestyle that I would focus on the wrong thing for me. And so even as I'm, getting older and as my waist is expanding a little bit, I still want to control the waist. I don't want to, I want to control the weight, but I also just want to really love my life. I
Mhm.
want to feel fulfilled. I want the stress to, I want to be able to have an outlet to get rid of stress and not have it like just stick to me because the body does keep score so much. And so I love this idea of the like the fat loss versus weight loss because you're right, there are some things. And it's interesting because when I started doing Pilates, I actually started to gain weight. That was one of the things that I noticed even in my shoulders got bigger. So I needed bigger shirts and things. So that was not an unhealthy gain, but
Mhm.
it did until I started telling myself, like, no, like looking at like why are my shirts getting too tight? It's like, well, because I have more muscle. So that weight did go up, but it was in a way that I mean, I loved doing Pilates. It just doesn't work with my schedule anymore. Otherwise, I would still be doing it. So I just do, floor Pilates. But but yeah, it's not all about the number. It's about how you feel and what are you doing to make yourself like healthy versus just look healthy. Because I we all have
Mhm.
those we've all seen the experiences of those individuals who go so far into weight loss that they actually it gets dangerous or they focus on that so much that they actually end up getting really sick
Mhm.
and that's so I love the intention part of it is like, what do you want from this?
Mhm.
And so, tell us a little bit more about like, what are some of the intentions that would be, um, that we should be like, what are some of the questions we should be asking ourselves, or how do we discover what our intention is for this?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first place we have to start is just by gaining some awareness. So before I think we can change the intention to something that maybe is going to serve us more long term, we have to explore like what is the drive? What is driving somebody toward a specific weight loss goal or having their body look a specific way? And for me, I don't think this was something that I realized until I wasn't pursuing it or chasing it that way anymore.
Mhm.
But that really was a way that I thought I needed to be in order to be like loved or in order to be valued, in order to be enough. And those messages are blatant all over the place. It's not even just about what our bodies look like, but how much money do you make? What kind of car do you drive? You know, what kind of clothes do you wear? All of those different things. How do your kids behave? What does your house look like? I mean, it shows up in so many different ways. And so I think before we can be intentional about the intention and the heart that's driving the behaviors, we have to get really honest and like, why am I even pursuing this in the first place? For me, for whatever reason, I definitely fell into that magic thinking that if my body looked a certain way, if I was a certain size or weighed a certain number, then my marriage would be good. I would be a good mom. I would, somehow be in a successful career. And when I say it now, I'm like, oh my gosh, that seems so silly. But it is so true. And even in talking to so many of my clients, when they are still hung up on that number or their body looking a certain way before they can feel successful or feel content or feel happy with what they see, we can start to see like, oh yeah, there still is part of them that's like believing that when I look like this or if I looked like this, then all of these other things would be better. And so just really, asking, okay, so if this is my goal, if this is the thing I'm working on, why am I working on this?
Mm.
Like, where did I even get the idea that this was like the size that I needed to be or the number on the scale that I should be? And really start exploring that. And then we can decide, okay, like even taking it a step further, like, has there ever been a time in the past where maybe you have been that number, you have been that size, and were all of those things true? Like, was your marriage great? Were you a better mom? Were you more successful? And chances are not, because also what I hear a lot is, yeah, even at my lightest weight, even when like I looked the best, I still thought I needed to lose another 10 pounds.
I know
And so
it's
that's
that.
how we know.
Yeah, I've seen the memes that is like, I wish I was as fat as I thought I was when I was 15. Like it was, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh wow, like yeah, and just yeah. What is what is satisfaction? Like, how do you like? What is the process, or like, what do you need to ask yourself to find that satisfaction, or to be content in who you are and what weight you are? Like what are some of the things you ask your clients as you're trying to figure out what their goals are, their intentions are, even though they come to you with goals? Like what are some of those things that you explore?
Yeah, I think one of the more tangible ones is to just have my clients kind of imagine, okay, I want you to like imagine that version of yourself that you see. It's like, this is the thing I'm working for. What does she feel in her body? What is she like if she were standing in the mirror looking at herself, what would she be thinking? How would she be feeling? And those are the types of things that we then want to work on cultivating now. It's like, okay, great. Like, how could you start to, feel strong in your body now? Like, what are some ways that we could do that? Well, one of my favorites is lifting weights, right? It's like, lift weights, feel strong, do things that push yourself physically, that's pushing you to get stronger, that's cultivating that sense of accomplishment and that sense of achievement. So it's getting really clear on like, what do you think that that version of you would be feeling? What do you think she would be thinking?
Hmm.
How would she be treating her body? If she caught a glimpse of herself in the mirror naked, like what would be some of the things that she would be thinking? And for some people, or for some of those thoughts, like it feels so far away. And so then we just work on kind of neutralizing some of the negative statements that they have. It's like, okay, well, can we just acknowledge that you have a body, and like what has that body allowed you to do?
Yeah.
Are you a mom? Did you carry your kids? Like those are things that we can feel strong, we can feel accomplished, we can feel proud of before the weight ever starts to come off or before your body starts to change. So I think really utilizing whatever that future version of themselves is to have her kind of help you create that blueprint of what actions, how does she feed herself? What kinds of things is she doing to work out? Really leaning on that a little bit.
I love that. You mentioned fat loss versus weight loss. Can you talk a little bit more about that, and like what are some of the differences? Just yeah, tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so the primary difference when we're thinking about fat loss versus weight loss could be losing weight from any place. That could be losing bone mass, it could be organ tissue,
Mm,
it could be fat, adipose, it could be visceral fat. I think a lot of times we end up losing weight. It is muscle that we're losing, especially women, especially with kind of the traditional dieting methods of aim to eat between 12 and 1500 calories and burn a ton of calories through exercise with um, that horrible advice of just eat less and exercise more. I mean, yes, like in theory, that obviously does work, but there are so many other ways that we can go about it to where you're able to stick with it longer than 30 days or 3 weeks, and you're not starving, you're not miserable. I think when we're looking at aging, which this is definitely not something I was thinking about in my 20s when it was just the pursuit of like having a certain body, um, having muscle is so important as we age. Having strong bones is a protector against osteoporosis, osteopenia, against falls, just being able to do things with your grandkids or even your kids as they grow up, if there are certain trips or things that you want to take and be able to do. And so shifting from just focusing on the number on the scale and more on, fat loss, the scale may not change all that much, but the shape of your body could change. You're potentially wearing a different size than you were. So really focusing on that fat loss versus the weight loss is huge. And then also shifting to focus on how strong am I? Am I able to lift more? Are things in my everyday life easier to do? Shifting that focus there too can be really big, especially if you find yourself constantly obsessing over the scale and ending up self-sabotaging because the scale isn't moving or it's going up or it's not moving as fast as you want it to.
yeah, I remember one of the things that I heard you say, um, I was talking about one of the issues that could be, and I could be wrong how I said this. It's just I could have transformed it in my mind, but I was talking about one of the reasons why we are not losing weight, or the fact that if we do, like it's muscle, is if we're not actually eating enough, or if we're not eating enough protein. And that's one of the things that it was a wake up call to me, because I realized that it is not uncommon for me to go through and have like a snack and a meal a day. Like it's not that I'm trying to diet or, fast for, 20 hours a day, but it's more just my busy lifestyle. And so as I'm intentionally making sure that I eat more protein. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I am so full. Like I feel like there's days that I'm like, all I did was eat today. Like I feel like, and so can you tell us a little bit about that? Like that whole concept of like starving ourselves basically is what I was doing. And it not intentionally, just I'm busy. I'm a
Mhm.
mom, and I have a business, and I like go into the gym, and I try to meet with my friends, and like all these things. And then eating is just, it's not something that I had like in my calendar, but now I do.
Yeah, I would say for a lot of the moms I work with, eating is kind of an afterthought, at least for themselves. Like they do a great job feeding their families and getting dinner on the table or making sure the kids have some breakfast and some lunch. But then when it comes to themselves, either they don't really pencil in the time. I don't want to say that they're too busy, but they don't pencil in the time. It's not a priority. Sometimes it just feels like it's a waste of time to do something just for themselves, which that's a whole
Whole
potentially another
conversation.
podcast
Yes.
episode right then and there. Um, but yeah, I would say like with nutrition, the biggest things that I would focus on and that I typically do kind of start my clients with is really just focus on upping your protein.
Mm,
A majority, I can't actually say that I ever immediately started working with a client and they were eating adequate protein, especially if they're working out. So that to me is like one of the big rocks. It's something that's pretty easy to do. You do have to be intentional. I find planning, what I'm going to eat the day of really helps, especially even if I'm only keeping track of protein, that's going to help me hit my protein target. A good kind of general recommendation is about 1 gram per target pound of body weight. That can change a little bit if we're talking about somebody that is maybe has a lot more weight to lose. If you're over 200 pounds, then there might be a little bit of fluctuation there. But for a majority of people, about 1 gram per pound of target weight is ideal. And some people will say target weight overall, some people will say target weight lean mass. I just like to make it easy. So, whatever your target weight is, you want to aim for that in protein. The conundrum I think we end up in with the whole eat less, exercise more is that that works for a little while. And that's where people initially see some weight loss. But then what we also see happening is people get hungrier, they start eating more, their metabolism actually starts slowing down. So that's where you kind of hit those plateaus. And it's not something that's sustainable or really even fun. Your energy dips, you stop kind of losing the motivation to work out. So you don't even really want to move as much because your body is like, we're not getting enough energy in to support like
mm,
basic life functions. So we're definitely not going to prioritize trying to lose weight. And the weight that you do end up losing tends to be your muscle mass first because muscle is what we would call an expensive tissue. It costs quite a bit to keep it around because it actually is metabolic, it burns calories at rest. And so,
oh,
it's like the things that I like is let's get you eating as much as you can, working out as little as possible and still working towards reaching your goals, which is a very opposite approach to what
yeah.
we've been taught. And there's a lot of the mindset, especially in women, around, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to eat that much food. But it's like, yeah, I mean, I like to eat. So
I do
I
too. That's the crazy part. Why I'm like, why did I not eat today? But it's the planning ahead. Like I do know that when I meal plan, when I prep for lunches and breakfast. Like I've been doing better about having like a Greek yogurt with fruit, and like chia seeds and flax or whatever, in the morning, just to intentionally like pick my meals around like, okay, like the protein aspect of it. I know that it has changed. Like I do feel fuller, longer. I do feel better. Like I feel more like satiated or just more energy, which I'm like, well, of course that you're eating something and you weren't eating before, but it's still, it also is I know that I'm taking care of myself, which I know is that we can talk about a whole nother podcast about taking care of ourselves and prioritizing our needs. And, but it's so important because to reach our goals, we need our bodies to like fall in line. We need if we're going to be, whether it's, you're starting a ministry or you're writing a book or you are, even if it's volunteering at your kids, soccer mom or in their classroom, or you're starting a business that you want to be successful. I know that you need energy. You need to feel good because there's confidence in when you're feeling good, that confidence comes naturally. And so I just love this whole concept. What are some of like the golden rules that I know we talked about protein and that like 1 gram per target weight, but what are a couple of other like golden rules that you hold that for your clients, or that you suggest that like my listeners can like to get them started, or to start to look at like, okay, maybe this is for me. What are some of those?
Yeah, the protein obviously is a big one. I would say too, like if you're just starting out working out, or even if you're busy and you're seasoned, 2 full body days a week can be a great place to start, and can, for a lot of people, even be decent maintenance.
Yeah.
I would say I would prioritize, strength training and focusing on building muscle rather than circuits, super high rep ranges, not a lot of rest. We don't want to turn those strength training sessions into cardio, which is sometimes what we do if we're not resting enough, if we're not lifting heavy enough. Um,
Interesting.
so those kinds of things. Sleep is a huge one, and that is something that is oftentimes so overlooked. And not every night's going to be a perfect night. And depending on your season of life, you might be getting interrupted sleep, and do the best that you can within what you have. I mean, that's kind of is how I would approach all of it. I
Yeah.
can give you like the best laid plan, and these, tend to be like the top 5 things that if you do these, and you still have to figure out a way to make it work within the context of the rest of your life. So prioritizing sleep, just increasing movement throughout the day can be huge. So that's where going for a walk, doing body weight exercises at your desk, getting the stand up desk, putting the treadmill underneath of there. Those are all things that can really be like big needle movers over time. Nothing that I am prescribing is going to be something that's, you're going to drop 5 pounds in the next week. In fact, it's not uncommon that we don't even see the scale, or that I don't even want to see the scale moving
Mhm.
for a couple of months. And that's another thing that can sometimes be really hard for people to wrap their head around, because we're so used to kind of that microwave mentality
Yeah, and we wanna see
around
tangible
everything.
results. Like, we want physical evidence that what we're doing is working, and so you're right,
Mhm.
that would be challenging.
And so, but this is not kind of going back to sort of the habits and the lifestyle. We're kind of taking what we have traditionally been taught and flipping it on its head. It's like, okay, we know the diet approach doesn't work. Like approaching healthy habits or a healthy lifestyle through the lens of a diet does not work. It creates results maybe quickly, but it doesn't create results long term. And if you're wanting to lose weight for a special event, then great. Like, yeah, you could do a diet. If you're thinking about health and longevity and really being able to keep up with your kids, keep up with your business or your dream, your passion, you need something that's not going to burn out in, 3 or 4 weeks. So something that you really can stick with. And
That
so it's
might stick
shifting
with.
that mentality.
Yeah, but something that you love doing as part of your routine. Like that's one thing that as I'm crafting my like magic morning or my morning routine right now, and really I'm taking like the first 3 hours and making that about me. And so one of it is I want to enjoy working out. So I'm not like, oh, I gotta work out again. I mean, when I was doing Pilates, I loved it. I loved the people. I loved and like the workouts and things. And it's like, okay, so now I'd like to get to that same feeling of no, I want to go to the gym and I want to work out. Um, and then be able to say, okay, no, feel good about that. Like I don't want to work out for 3 hours. I'd like to do
Mhm.
a good workout. Like typically, what are your what's your suggestion or typically your workouts? Like how long do they last?
I like to get in and out as quickly as I can, which is a total night and day shift of, where I used to be.
Okay.
Um, and, obviously, like I'm still trying to pay attention to rest periods and things like that
Mhm.
for whatever program I'm following or whatever I'm working on. So don't cut, if you are following a program and it says rest for, 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 2 minutes, like really give yourself the chance to rest.
Okay.
Because in that way, every time you go into that next set, you're going to be able to give that set your all.
So
And
good.
then we're also not shifting into that cardio weightlifting. Um,
Yeah, and you've
but
mentioned that twice. Are you saying that we need to not do cardio or like what part is like give me a little bit of information about that because I did write that down. I was like, okay, so this is the second time you've mentioned like don't shift into cardio.
It's so cardio and weightlifting for the purposes of strength training or muscle building are two different things.
Okay.
Cardio tends to be where muscle kind of starts to get broken down, right? It's like if you look at endurance people, they're very long, very lean, they don't tend to carry a lot of muscle mass. That
Okay.
is perfect for their sport. Like they need to be light so that they can move a lot further than I ever have a desire to run.
Yes. Yes.
But if we're thinking just like general longevity and health, you want to have muscle on your frame, especially as a female, especially as you're aging. It becomes a little bit harder to build muscle, but also muscle breakdown happens at a quicker pace. And so we need to build it as best as we can, maintain it, and kind of hold on to it as long as we can. And so we don't want to switch into like that cardio system, just doing it with weights, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So
Now
yes,
that makes sense.
do some cardio. That's great for your heart.
Mhm.
A lot of people enjoy it, and lift weights and lift
Okay.
heavier weights than probably what you might feel comfortable with. That would be my shameless plug for hiring a coach or a personal trainer, especially if you're brand new to it, so that you can get the help with the form that you might need, because we don't want you to injure yourself. But the chance of you injuring yourself because you don't have muscle or you're not strong in your everyday life goes up exponentially, and you're more likely to hurt yourself probably not in the gym than you are in the gym.
Okay. No, this is so helpful. So still do the cardio, but just make sure that you do cardio for cardio's sake and weight training for weight training's sake. And kind of, do you do it on the same day or do you even suggest doing those on different days?
I typically don't do mine on the same day. Again, it just depends on what I'm doing for programming and things like that. And if you were going to do it on the same day, you want to think about doing the one first that you're prioritizing. So for me, I'm always thinking about prioritizing my strength, my muscle. So if I were to do both sessions back to back, I
Mhm.
would go lift weights first and then I would do some cardio at the
Okay.
end. And I will maybe, hop on the stair mill or the treadmill or row or something like that for 10 or 15 minutes after a lifting session. But if it's a more intense lifting session, then I'm pretty spent and I'm like, that was good enough.
Good. I love that though, the idea of like, okay, no, it's good enough. Like you worked
Yeah.
hard, be done, be proud of yourself and, go live your life.
And
Um,
that goes for whether the workout's 45 minutes or if all you have is 15. I think taking that same mindset of like, if this is what I can give today, it's better than me not showing up at all. So if it's 10 minutes, if it's 15 minutes, do the 10 minutes, do the 15 minutes when you can,
mhm.
and figure out how you could prioritize getting in more time depending on your goals.
That's yeah, so smart. Okay, as we start to wrap up here a little bit, like what is one thing you want the women who listen who to my podcast, like they are amazing. They're faithful, they're servants' hearts, and they're ambitious. Like they have these goals. What is one thing that you want to leave with them, like a quick win or just a way to a mindset shift or something that will help them live a like lean into the healthy habits and healthy lifestyle versus the like, oh, I gotta be a gym rat or I gotta diet all the time.
Well, I don't know if this mindset specifically addresses that, but the first thing that came up is that it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to delegate things to your family, so that you can either carve time to work on your business or work on whatever that goal or that dream is that you think God has put in your heart. It's also okay for other people to step up and pitch in so that you can prioritize taking care of your health. If that's going for a walk, if that's going to the gym, if that's going to your garage or whatever area that you want to designate for getting a workout in. I would say that's the biggest obstacle that my clients face across the board is um, just not prioritizing themselves in the same way that they do everybody else. And it's not about being selfish. And I think that the way that we treat ourselves teaches our kids so much about how to treat themselves like moving forward. Like I think about that with my daughter in the sense of I don't want her to be a people pleaser. I don't want her to um just always put everybody else's needs ahead of hers and never prioritize herself. And so one of the ways that I can teach that is the way that I'm modeling that. And so
Sure.
um I think thinking of it as an investment in yourself, in your family, in your marriage, in your business or your ministry, that's huge.
In
You
the
are
future
essentially.
too. Like this is your the longevity and like how long you're gonna be able to have a healthy life.
Mhm.
It is decided today.
Well, and I've seen it going around, people are like, screw training for my bikini body. Like I'm training for my grandma bod. And so just that
Yes.
mentality of like, what do you, again, like taking yourself to that future, like what do you visualize being like when you're 60, 70, 80? That starts now.
Mhm. So good. Thank you. And I just thought of a whole bunch of more questions, but I'm like, okay, well, we're gonna wrap up because that's again, it'll just take it in a whole nother direction. But I appreciate your time so much. And I just value what you do and even just the lifestyle and listening to you talk about your health and your body. It's helped me realize that like to appreciate what my body's been through, like and appreciate
Mhm.
the and instead of being like, oh, I'm down on myself because I've gained weight, look at the importance of okay, let me, she's served me well. Let me serve her well too. And so thank you
Mhm.
so much for what you do. How can people get in contact with you? How can they I mean, even your reels and your you have a podcast as well. Like how do they find you?
Yeah, so my podcast is The Strong Her Way, and that's on all major platforms. You can find me on Instagram at Alisha Carlson _. And then currently, I have a new product that is launching that I'm super excited about. It's called the Healthy Meals Happy Family System, where I really just tried to work to streamline healthy eating putting all the tools and the resources together. So 30 days of healthy, family friendly recipes with swaps. So, depending on your guys' preferences or just dietary needs and things like that, there's some easy swaps and tips in there. You've got the recipe book, the grocery list, along with my system, the way that I get meal planning and grocery shopping done in really less than an hour. If I factor in, that's including the time like at the grocery store. So we
Wow.
get in, we get out, we get it done. But you can pick up your copy of that. We'll have the links to that in the show notes as well.
Okay. Awesome. And what is that called again?
It's the Healthy Meals Happy Family System.
Nice. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Alicia, for coming on and just sharing. Um, I know that as we, as we're stepping into 2025, like and really it's like as we're stepping into this, who we want to be, like
Mhm,
healthy is one of the top goals. Is
mhm,
we want to feel good about, we want to feel confident and good about who we are and taking care of our bodies. Our bodies, mind, and souls are definitely on top of that. And yeah, this whole lifestyle shift of care versus just forcing things is
mhm.
definitely helpful and edifying. So thank you so much for coming, and I appreciate you sharing with us.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
So, well, I will see you soon.